Hey, what up, young scholars? It's your boy, the extra large professor of Dad Cypher, where we decipher or dad cipher hip hop culture to learn how to become better fathers and better parents for the next generation. So, your boy had to analyze Kendrick Lamar's Father Time from his fifth studio album called Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. So let's just jump right into it. I just want to say this. I think Kendrick Lamar has been personally stalking me because I cannot believe how he was able to craft a song that really talked about my experience growing up fatherless, as well as talk about my experiences being a father. So this song, Father Time, if you haven't listened to it as a dad, you really have to check this out. So first and foremost, Kendrick Lamar's song really talks about this whole idea of Black fathers basically following or mimicking what Bell Hooks called imperialist white capitalistic patriarchy. I know that's a lot of big words, but I'm going to break it down. Imperialist white capitalistic patriarchy. In other words, it's talking about learning manhood or demonstrating or exhibiting manhood through violence and domination. So, when we get into this song, what he talks about is how his father violently initiated him through into masculinity and manhood. And I found it quite interesting that he talks about this song as a game of basketball. So imagine his father is like, I don't know, like for old heads like myself, Shaquille O'Neal, for young heads like yourself, maybe Joel Embiid, dominating the kindergarten. And he's pushing them down, knocking them down, saying it's no such thing as a foul. Suck it up, be a man. But we're talking about a 5-year-old. We're talking about a 3-year-old. Basically, what Kendrick Lamar is talking about in this song is basically Black fathers following this example of white capitalistic patriarchy has used violence to basically prematurely kill their child's childhood to usher them into becoming a man. Suck it up, be a man. Don't feel anything. And he talks about how that really, especially with male children, have been told to bottle up their emotions, don't exhibit anything except for anger. That's the only emotion that we have been allowed to feel. In fact, in the song, he said that, basically the tough love that he received from his father was no chaser. So basically, it's saying that we as men have been numbed to the point that we just are told to build a wall. Do not feel anything. And basically, that wall is designed in some respects to protect you because it's protecting you from being vulnerable to anything out there. However, what it does is prevent you from feeling anything else. So, in the song, one of his lyrics that he breaks down is, I come from a generation of home invasions. And I want to spend some time breaking this down. I come from a generation of home invasions. This is deeper than saying he grew up in the hood where you're vulnerable to violence, people breaking into your homes. I say, no, this goes all the way back. This goes all the way back to the enslaved ancestors who found their homes invaded. Imagine everything that you knew, your culture, your language has been brutally and violently beat out of you. until the point that you do not recognize home. That's that's what we're talking about, home invasion. Now, imagine generation after generation are learning that violence is associated with maleness. So if you fast forward in 2022, what you find is that you find a world that do not value you or as a person. You can be shot eating ice cream. You can be shot for or have a knee on your neck for any sort of offense. You are not given the grace or seen or recognized as a human being. You know, you talk about your pain, everybody else says, so what? I got pain. Nobody recognizes it. So you're holding everything in. This is the home invasion, folks. It's teaching us how to be dominant. So, what's the child to do? What we end up doing is catching feelings on being dominant and violence and violent. And what he said is, daddy issues kept me competitive. In other words, we come to see the world through violence. I come to see the world where I must dominate you, or I will dominate you, or else I will be dominated. I must be competitive. I have no time for empathy. I have no time for sorrow. I have no time for compassion. I must dominate you. Remember that old school Mortal Kombat, finish him? This is a life mantra that Black fathers have been inflicting on their children because that is what we have been taught to survive. So when he says in the lyrics, when Kanye got back with Drake, I was slightly confused. For those who don't know, Kanye West had a long-standing beef with the rapper Drake, and it got very personal. However, they got to a space of forgiveness. But Kendrick was like, it left him confused. And it would leave many Black males who've had this father experience confused in the sense because we have not been taught about being forgiven, having empathy, because we want to save face. We want to show, or we have to keep up dominance. We are not allowed spaces for therapy. And it's quite fitting that this song, Father Time, was released during mental health history. During mental health month. So the song does not just talk about the problems that's impacting Black fathers in the way that we are raising our children. It also offers solutions, which is one of my favorite things about Father Time. Basically, Kendrick Lamar is challenging us to rewrite fatherhood. And it's in one particular line that I have to elaborate on. He said, to fatherless fathers, basically, congratulations that you were able to find some semblance of manhood. For me, as a fatherless father, it was the lyrics of hip hop culture, the community, and that sort of thing. I had to find these different fragments, put it in a blender, drink it, and then that became what I knew of manhood and fatherhood. And so, check this out what he's saying. He said in this line, blessings be neutral. Let your blessings be neutral to your toddlers. And I thought about it and I'm like, wow, blessings be neutral to their toddlers. I was like, what does that mean? Then I started thinking about it. He's using the word neutral like we would think of a car. So follow me here real quick. Let's say if fatherhood was a car. If fatherhood was a car, and if me as a father raise my child, if I keep them in park, it means that I'm afraid to share my father experience. I'm afraid to share my vulnerability and pain. So what that does is keep my child stagnant. They stay in the same place, and they don't know how to move forward emotionally, and they don't know how to move forward in terms of reaching their purpose and goals. Because in order to reach a purpose and goal, you must be willing to experience levels of pain. So that's park. What about if I shift my car into drive? Where oftentimes fatherless fathers always are constantly in drive. And I would probably say in overdrive, because a lot of us try to overcompensate for everything that we have experienced. Everything. I'm going to make sure that my child do this because I never had this. But what happens is a lot of times we become so exhausted that we forget self-care. And sometimes we exhaust our own children. Then what if we shift our fathering in reverse, meaning that we use our fathering experience as fatherless dads at that point to try to reverse and correct everything that we have experienced. So it's not about the child anymore. It's trying to use your child to correct the wrongs that have been inflicted on you. And although you need to take responsibility on healing, it should never be through your child. They're a different person who deserve a different moment. So let's go back to the lyric again. Blessings be in neutral. When you are in neutral, it allows you to push your car, to move it. And guess what? We as dads only can push, but we have to allow our children to steer. We have to allow them to have their experiences, but push, guide them, and usher them into manhood. We have to humble ourselves and not repeat this same cycle of white capitalistic patriarchy that says that dominance is the only way. We have to direct them in new ways. If your child desires affection, push them in a safe way of affection. If they desire to show vulnerability, push them in the right way. Father Time in Kendrick Lamar's song, it's a dope song because it's time we as fathers begin to change what we are doing. So if you haven't done so, check out Kendrick Lamar's latest album, Morale and the Big Steppers. Check out the song Father Time. Put in the comments if you feel like I've missed anything in my review, if you agree, or talk to me about what your father experienced like. Was violence used as a way to usher you into masculinity, manhood? Or maybe if you are a young lady and you were disciplined the same way, talk about how violence has impacted your growth. This the extra large professor again, Dad Cypher, where we dad cipher hip hop culture to learn how to be men and go into masculinity. And so, well, like I said before, peace and love, and definitely check out K Dot's album. Peace.